Hi there, this is Mara Grujanik. I am so glad that you joined me today. I'm Family Engagement Coordinator for Stevenson High School, and thank you so much for your time. Today, we're going to talk about pretty much the cornerstone of how do we, develop a relationship with our teens that is strong, where they feel valued, where they feel heard, understood, because the whole idea of, like, well, they're going to be leaving me or whatever. But this is really, high school is really the time when we move from, as the adults in our teens' lives, we move from being sort of the manager of their lives to the mentor in their lives. And this is where we lay down really strong roots. Being not like we haven't been doing it before, but this is really a time that our role in our teens' lives changes so much because we become sort of the guide that they go to, the place that they know they're always going to be accepted, heard, valued, supported through even the things that we think might be like, oh, you think that's a big deal. That's not a big deal. Wait till I tell you what a big deal is. What's going on in their lives, especially as young adults, is that they're changing so much because their brain is growing so much and they're looking around themselves and trying to figure out, who am I as an adult and what do I want to be and who do I want to emulate and who can I go to, who is always unconditionally in my corner. And so there is a place called the Search Institute. They do a lot of work on developing development and student development, people development. And so they have come up with 5 conditions that are really, really, and it not out of nowhere and not because someone said it, because they've done a lot of research. And they've come up with 5 conditions that exist in really strong, really supportive relationships that support the development of our teens, also preteens, but really beyond like, I love you, which is good. We should always tell every single person in our lives. You always want to let them know how you feel about them. Maybe not if you're having a bad day, but those sort of supportive relationships. And what can we as people, one half of the relationship, do to support a strong relationship, especially in a teen? So they say there's 5 keys to a developmental relationship. One is express, we're going to go through each of these. One is express care. One is challenge growth. One is expand their possibilities, provide support, and then share power. I don't know about you. The share power thing always kind of gets to me a little bit. So when we think about it, we think about how can we connect with our teens best and how can we help them be the best people they can be. So we think about when we are the adults in their lives, that's a pretty powerful relationship. And so we wield a lot of power in their lives because we see them all the time, right? So how can we, to our teens, show them they matter to us, want them to keep getting better, help them complete tasks and achieve their goals, give them respect, give them the respect they deserve every day, and then connect them to possibilities as they move forward. So let's talk about each one of them. Express care. What does that mean? It means be someone that your teen can depend on. Listen to them. Really pay attention to them. And we talk a lot about that when we talk about relationships. And now as we're moving into February, we talk a lot about relationships and friendships. Most important thing that we can do as we're talking to our teens is actively listen to what they're saying. Believe in them. Make sure they know that they're seen and they're valued. And really, when you're with them, show them that it's really important to you to be with them. If you have a super busy life and there's a lot of things going on in your life, a lot of times it happens to a lot of people, really take the time to be intentional about being with them and praise them for their efforts and what they're trying to do so that they know, even if it doesn't work out the way they wanted to, that there's someone that's unconditionally behind them. Additionally, excuse me for just a minute, I want to let someone in the room. Sorry about that. Challenge growth. So what does that mean? So we as the adults in our teens' life can expect them to be their best and live up to their potential, but that's their potential. And we know our teens better than anybody else. But that's to be really realistic. And so I think sometimes when it's a hard thing, you got to be your best. That doesn't mean maybe not to everybody that's a straight A student. Maybe to some people that is a straight A student, but you know if they're really pushing themselves and they're stretching themselves. And how can you, as you're talking to your teen about like maybe their goals for this semester, what are they doing? Or their goals for maybe the summer, maybe it's a job or something. What do they want to do? And it's best to have those conversations when it's not a highly emotional, high stakes time. It's not like, oh, it's due tomorrow or whatever. To have a conversation, just say, hey, what do you want to do? What do you think? And then we, as helping them grow, we help them manage those goals and break them down into goals that they can achieve. And you know your team best. You know, does that have to be a daily check-in, a weekly check-in, bi-weekly? Can you initially help them on a weekly basis, but then back off to maybe twice a month or something like that? But hold them accountable and have them take responsibility for their actions. Did they say they were going to reach out to someone? Did they follow through? And then when they don't, when something doesn't go as planned, and they consider it maybe a failure or a challenge or something, what was it about that process that didn't go well, but then also what did go well? So sometimes just the intentionality of saying, I'm going to try to do this, is a really great thing for us to remember, that it's important for our teens to acknowledge and know that we're behind them. So first was in the 5 basics of what's a really good relationship, developmental relationship. First was express care. I love you unconditionally. I care about you. I support you. I take time to listen to you. I look at you. I value you. Second, encourage growth. What are your goals? How can I help you? Check in with them, break those down into smaller goals. You know them. So I care about you. I'm going to challenge your growth. I'm going to support your growth. This is challenge your growth. The third is providing that support. And that's so much of what we talk about during these lunch conversations, these quick little 15-minute, like just boosts, is how do we help our teens get through this really, really crazy time where they're going from being a child to a young adult. And really, remember, we talk a lot about this. Adolescence is somewhere from 14 to all the way through like 24. So if you think about that path in the United States, that's like high school, post-secondary, whatever that is. If it's an internship, if it's college, if it's junior college to a 4-year college, whatever it is that, and then into young adulthood. So probably graduation, getting out of an internship, moving out of the family home, probably into some type of adult situation. So how do we help get our teens through those systems and those kinds of situations where they're in? How do we empower them to take on those things, those ideas, those strategies, those new experiences for them on their own, but know that we're there. And you do that through providing support and being there and sort of helping them know that, yes, you can do this on your own. And if you need me to advocate for you, I will sometimes, many times for our teens, especially before they're 18, just a carbon copy on an email, or I'd like to bring my mom along with this, or my dad, or my adult, or my guardian, or whomever it is in my life that is sort of this advocate for me, that works. The other thing that's really, really important is that we help our teens understand where the boundaries are. And that is, no, you may not do that. That is not in our family values. It is not acceptable to do that. Being there and providing support is one thing, but also making sure that the behavior is in line with the values of your family is also really important. And different families in different backgrounds have different kinds of values. And you are the only one that knows what is acceptable in your family and what is not acceptable in your family. Because what the next thing we want to do, so we want to express care, we want to challenge their growth, help them become, the best they can be. We want to provide support. And in all of that, then what we want to do is share power. So what that means is we want to really respect the fact that these young humans are going from being a child to being an adult. And it takes 10 years, it's a decade, but take them seriously and treat them with respect and fairly. It is the hardest thing. If you have been with this human since they were, so little, no matter how little they were when you first met them, and now they're independent, and as adolescents, they're looking toward their peers. They're not looking toward you really anymore. They're really trying to figure out what their peers are doing. And it's that constant struggle. But what we need to do as the adults, as the older people in the relationship, is understand that struggle and invite them into situations where their voice is heard and not minimized, right? So not like, hey, what time do you think you should come home? And then, no, I don't think so. You really can have that conversation with them about, well, why do you think you should be, why do you think that should be the way it is? And how are you going to strategize that? And work with them to collaboratively solve things. That doesn't mean if they do something that are against the family values, there's no consequences. That's not what that is. Maybe if that's an issue, you have that conversation about consequences beforehand and it's written down, whatever works best in your relationship. But when you have built that foundation of, I trust you, I care about you, we know we care about each other, I'm challenging your growth, I'm always being supportive of you, then I can share that power with you and we can have that discussion. That doesn't mean at 14, everything is up for grabs because now they're adolescents. It means you as the adult in their life can start to allow opportunities for them to start to make decisions for themselves, knowing that to give too much power is like overwhelming, but to give it in slices and to discuss how did that work, what went well, and for you to have sort of that contingency plan if things don't go well, and your own values, your own family values for how much tolerance is there for that, because that's as much family different as difference in different cultural backgrounds, and where do you live, how do you live your life, what kind of responsibilities are there, but the way you can sort of in small increments share that power with your teen, understanding of course that by the time they're 18 they're going to be really might be on their own and making decisions on their own. So when you start helping make those decisions with them incrementally as you're moving forward through high school, then that allows them that flexibility of saying, well, do I feel good making this decision? Do I not? And if it's smaller, right, then if things don't go well, then that's when you can have that discussion with your teen about what went well, what didn't go well. The last is a really, really great thing that it's a gift that we can give our teens. The last one is to expand possibilities. How are we looking at our teens and thinking about who they are and who they might want to be as young adults and as adults, knowing that whatever they say they want to be today might change tomorrow. But how are we inspiring them? Do you talk to your teen about what you do? Do you talk to your teen about where you went to school? Do you offer that up as an opportunity, or do you sit them down and say, let me tell you about when I was in school? But maybe when they're going through something, you can say, you want to know what it was like when I was in school? And if they say no, don't move forward. But maybe talk to them about what you do all day long. Because a lot of our teens have impressions, and we think our teens know what we do all day long, but they really have no idea. And one of the things that a role I've taken on recently is that of a career counselor here. And I always wonder whether or not our teens have spent a day shadowing their parents or shadowing a colleague of their parents at their parents' work or at their guardian's work. What do they do? What does that industry do? Do you like it? Do you not like it? It gives you something to talk about. It broadens their horizons. It gives them new experiences and new ideas. Do you sit down with your teen and say, hey, let's do something different on whatever Saturday or Sunday or a month from now, or when they have a day off? Do you just go someplace new? Do you, wherever you feel comfortable going, right? But expanding those opportunities for them and introducing them to people, connecting them with opportunities and people that they may not have known. Do you have someone in your social circle that is you think maybe your teen might find interesting? It's a great idea for you to just connect the two of them to people. Do you think that there's someone that maybe they may have not have shown interest in, but they may think that person is cool because, I don't know, they're super artistic or musical or really into research or a historian or likes to read. When you get to know your teen better, you can look at your circle of people who are in your world and think differently about how you can connect them and link them in with your teen so that your teen's world gets a little bit bigger too. Additionally, don't ever forget, please, that Stevenson has counselors, career people, college people that are happy to help you or your teen navigate anything that they want to. We are there as your partners in both while your student is here. If you ever have a question before, well, I don't know if any of you are before, or you could avail yourself of any of the resources on our websites. But for those of you who are parents of Stevenson students, guardians of Stevenson students, you have a counselor that's there for you all the time. As I mentioned before, we are going to spend the month of February talking about relationships, friendships, our teens connecting with others. And so tomorrow we're going to talk about strategies for talking with your teen. I'm going to tell you, it's not always easy. They want to slam the door because what they're doing developmentally in as young adolescents is looking to their peers instead of us. So sometimes that can be a little bit of a challenge. I hope today was helpful for you. We talked about 5 developmental points that you can take to support your teen and connect with your teen. I hope they were helpful for you. And I'm going to try to see if I can go back to that. There we go. It is expressing care, challenging growth, expanding possibilities, providing support, and sharing power. I hope this was helpful. I hope you have a great day. I hope to see you again tomorrow. Thanks so much for being with me today, everyone. Bye-bye.